Paul. Yeah. Um, there is a formula, yes, a formula, a Roman law, a written document prepared by a praetor, forwarded to a judex, identifying the issue to be tried and the judgment to be given by the judex. Now, judex is an interesting word because I never thought of the word judge involving the use of the letter X. Yes. And since I don't know what it is, let's find out what a judex is. Now, we know what judges are, don't we? Does anybody know what a judex is? Mm. Judex? Oops, wait a second. Oh, here's an ex parte injunction, a preliminary injunction after the court has heard from only the moving party? Yes. Temporary restraining order. Oh, I looked at the ex parte injunction as only being available for 14 days. Yes, but the court commissioner thought you had 48 days. I thought I was going to sue you. Yes, for issuing protection orders that were in ex parte injunctions. Yeah, that were only available for temporary restraining orders because the only party you heard from was the moving party. Now, this petitioner, yes, known as the moving party, yeah, that didn't sign your protection order. How can the moving party not sign an acknowledgement and consent of the protection order? Now, the Hague rules, oh my gosh, let's call the Hague and all of those that have used the Hague for the last 20 years, yeah, find out if any of them have helicopters. And then look at that, participating in these different types of satanic rituals that involve the use of your sexual nerve endings. Now, I'm just wanting to know, okay? You get one ex parte order to start with, yes, where the moving party, yes, doesn't have to give notice to the actual respondent. Yeah. But you seem to think right now, mm, mm, let me see here, Judex, yes, Hijk, Judex. Well, court commissioner, you can't have ex parte court hearings for 48 days. What is the reluctance in the part of the judiciary to refuse to remove their fraudulent court orders? The state law only allows for ex parte orders, and the only ex parte order that it allows for is a temporary protection or restraining order. You don't get 48 days, you get 14 days. Did you read the RCWs? Now, Brent, it's not in my head to know that you've committed crimes, okay? I've been arrested multiple times for your fraudulent protection order that has forgeries on it. That your own signature's a forgery? Oops. Maybe your dog needs an erection for the next 2 weeks to see if it. Well, for all of those that have dogs, a 2 week erection could help them realize that it would be best to not be on the court commissioner Hij. Now, when you think about it, why? Needs an erection for 2 weeks? Well, what if you couldn't? For whatever reason, you, the hard penises that said, if this gets hard, I have to. What if you never could? As in, you had that frustration for 14 days, the actual length of time that any judiciary in the state of Washington can issue an ex parte order. Now, I'm going to want to see the actual, oops, the actual, oh, 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 well, excuse me, Judge. It's against the law to issue a permanent protection order 48 days after an ex parte moving party order. Remove your fraud. Interference, the act of meddling in another person's affairs, an obstruction or hindrances. patents, an administrative proceeding in the United States Patent and Trademark Office to determine who is entitled to the patent when two or more applicants claim the same invention or when an application interferes with an existing patent. I realize that I am not the innovator of the DIR, digital inflection something. I realize that. But you thought that you had the right to every innovation that I myself innovated. Now, interfering, this proceeding occurs when some invention is claimed. I recognize that I pay for the ideas of other people. I pay Steve Lamb for being the author of the book. I pay the innovator or their family for the use of their patented device. And for every individual right now, you've been, why don't you get me all of the patented, yes, copyrighted, yes, innovations of the intellectual property of every person everywhere in the world. You know, when I document something and I say, well, you're interfering with perspective advantage, tortuous. Interference with perspective advantage. Yes, you're interfering with my future business relationships when you refuse to enforce the laws. Now, as I said, the DIR might only be worth millions in profit to myself. But then you have to consider the manufacturer. Yes, you have to consider the individual that innovated it, patented it, and then described it in their own copyrighted book. Yes, you do. Now, for every time that you said, well, we can issue this protection order because the guy is crazy, the truth of the matter is, after you issue the first one, ex parte order, you can never issue another ex parte order without giving notice to the responding party. There is nowhere in this great world. Now, why don't I just go ahead and sue you as a sheriff's department for interfering with my business relationships? Torturous interference with the perspective advantage. Yes, interference with contractual relationships. See, torturous interference with contractual relations. Now, interfering with the administration of justice, perverting the course of justice. I described to you in an email the perversion of the course of justice, where I document, yes, and I email to civil rights coordinators that my sons are going to graduate at 19 and a half years old because of your perversion of the course of justice, of issuing dissolutions of marriage that I don't have a copy of. And then you say that it's a mail list instead of the actual documented crime that I had evidenced in the email. Now, for those that like the perverting of the course of justice, known as civil rights coordinators in every city and county, why don't I sue you? Yes, that responded to me. Please take me off this email list. Yes, without realizing that you had an obligation to prevent the perversion of the course of justice of the United States of America.